you know, everyone's really great at making Star Wars.
Making Star Wars.
That guy's a cyber character. He's not real.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. Hopefully you could hear me. And this isn't Rob. This is Costanza.
It's Costanza.
It's Bespin Bulletin. Yay!
Do we know what happened to Rob? I just suspect the commenters finally found where he lived and beat the crap out of him, and now he's laying dead somewhere in a ditch.
Well, what happened was I found out he wasn't doing what Santa said. He wasn't liking the show. And so I put his address in the comments, and they found him. Actually, I hope he doesn't mind me saying it, but I believe today's his anniversary. Excuse me. So I believe, yeah, he told me, so I'm going to be cutting out Thursday. It's my anniversary. And I said, oh, congratulations. And then I went about my life like I normally do. And then I invited him to the show or give him the link and everything. Like, let's do this. Where are you at? Can you go 45 minutes early? Come on. And then he's like, nothing. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's
got beat up, Jason. He's like he's all screwed up in the streets.
He's all beat up in the streets, crawling through, being like, my hands, they'll never draw again. And then he like takes the pencil in his mouth and he starts drawing with his mouth. And you're like, wow, it's a triumph of the human spirit. He's doing it. He's still doing it.
We might have done him a favor. He might become a celebrity now for that reason. He's doing it with his mouth and his toes, so.
It means he can't talk about Avatar while he's drawing. That might be a good thing. And he also can't say they should just make Mando a movie while he's mad at Mando for not being movie-like. So I think we all win in this new Rob space that we've created for ourselves.
Yeah. Maybe we should have just told her to go for the throat. Maybe we just cut out the middle.
Yeah. I don't know. Somehow I think he would like use blood spatter through a trachea to make some kind of new Jackson Pollock art. So the triumph of the human spirit, man. Just you can't get him. You can't get him down. Okay, so we got some Star Wars news today. And also make sure you subscribe to Star Wars Santa's show if you don't. He's one of my best buds and one of the best shows. I didn't get to do the show with him today, which was a bummer. But he's got to work, he's got a life. And so make sure you subscribe to Santa's show because it's good stuff. And if you read Bespin Bulletin, give the guy a coffee. I gave him a coffee today because you guys don't. So I said, you know what? I'm going to buy a coffee from you guys to him.
I didn't even know you did that. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I asked a question and I had a typo in it even. And I was going to fix the typo. And I thought, you know what? When I ask him if the Jedi are going to wear white robes in Ahsoka, I'm going to leave the typo in. I'm just going to leave it in instead. And I did. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, we got to support each other, right? I mean, Arya knows. Arya's got a new job. So Arya, where's the support, Arya? I'm kidding, Arya. You don't have to give us anything. But anyways, so today we got like two stories that I'm actually really excited about. And the first is some Ahsoka details about sort of like a collection of a lot of loose ends, but also some like interesting stuff about the weaponry and stuff like that. And then also another director has come on and been announced for Skeleton Crew. And I had it hinted to me that this director was on Skeleton Crew, and I didn't read between the lines because I am a moron. If you tell me a bunch of fast sources, I love my sources. You're the best in the West. But if you tell me a bunch of really cool, sexy stuff, and then you start hinting about something, I'm stupid, man. You got to spell it out for dummy here. That's why on Star Wars Santa's poll about where you not his North Pole, but on his polls where you guess like what's going to happen in the episodes, I'm always wrong. I only get sources because I frustrate the hell out of people who know things, and they're just like, this guy is so dumb. Yeah, the lightsaber, there are red lightsabers in the show, you idiot. Of course, they're not mauve. Is mauve a color? Is mauve? I think mauve's a color. I don't know, but whatever. So
I like how
here's
we've
the
both
article.
missed out on directors for Skeleton Crew. Like I was told about the Daniels, you were told about like this guy, and neither of us got it out. So
yeah, I know, and it was like, well, I mean, I'm it's a little bit frustrating. I'm happy for One Take News. I'm glad, and I'm glad that it came from One Take News again, because I believe when One Take News like is firm, it's likely going to be accurate, you know, and I know what they've said is accurate. So not trying to attach myself to their scoop. So good work to
good
One
job.
Take. Yeah, good job. But we had a weird situation with that whole production, because leaving, everybody's going, and like a part of me wonders now, and I haven't followed up on this or interviewed anybody else or asked any more questions about it in some time, but kind of wondering if these really good, fresh, energetic directors coming aboard an exhausted production, number one, if it brought new life into it every single time, but if it also in some weird ways contributed to people losing their minds. You know what I mean? It kind of I can kind of see it going that way. But on the story I'm going to talk about right now is about Ahsoka, and the weapons are pretty cool. Oops, I went back. And Ahsoka's production was, by most accounts, very, very good. It was the Skeleton Crew one that had a little bit, more issues. Oh, and talk to my ex, and she's gonna fix the font for us, and she's gonna make the font big for us. So next episode, I imagine we'll have new super Bespin Bulletin size font. You think that would be very easy to fix, but it wasn't easy. I couldn't do it.
My font's not that big, is it? Like in comparison?
I mean, you got a lot of girth to your font. You know what I mean? And that goes a long way. I got a
lot of girth in a lot of places, Jason. Right?
Yeah, I'm sort of like, I'm like a micro series font. So anyways, in recent reports, I have laid out what I have heard about the new villains from the Ahsoka Tano series, Star Wars Ahsoka. After having the scoops on who the new cast members were playing, I've also laid out their roles in the story. Today, I have more details about the bad cat serving Thrawn and what they have in their arsenal. These villains will aid a witch named Morgan Elsbeth, introduced in The Mandalorian Chapter 13, which you all need to go rewatch if you haven't, as she uses her war machine to extract Grand Admiral fucking Thrawn from the far reaches of unknown space. I still don't know what we're supposed to call that new place, but whatever. The Nodian Highlands.
Will we call it the New Beyond or something for a while?
Yeah. That's what I heard it. That's what I heard it referred to as at one point, and but I don't know if that's what it's called. So I think that's sort of. So I'm not committing to it, but yeah, New Beyond is the best terminology we have at the moment. So. But I went with Far Reaches of Space because I think that was in the opening crawl to Empire Strikes Back. So,
more about a galaxy even farther away.
Right. A galaxy far, far, far away. So, our main villain is a Force user named Balon. Not much is known about Balon at this time. Which, by the way, whenever I say Balon, I see the Baywatch logo in my brain every time. So when you like the Balon shirt, like the Baywatch logo with Stevenson with the shirt off, and like the little thing in his hand. Anyways, we know he is being played by 6'3" actor Ray Stevenson. I don't know what that is in meters. I'm a dumb American. Leave me alone. he's almost as tall as Thrawn. He was a Jedi who survived the Order 66 Jedi Purge and doesn't sound like he's a good Padawan anymore. I have heard references to Balon wearing dark armor, but I've never been given an adequate description with enough detail to relay here. I just know he wears armor with some samurai aesthetics that seem to permeate through the design, to the series' design. So there's like lots of like shogun, samurai, like Asian influences, Japanese influences throughout the series. Out of curiosity,
didn't John or Dave refer to it as like a samurai adventure at some point as well?
Wait, who did?
Either Dave or John did, right?
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. I think you're right. And I talked about a guy a couple of days ago that I didn't include in this article named Enoch, and he looks like Destro with a samurai helmet on, which I don't know if that means Destro with the Darth Vader helmet on the back. I don't know. I'm not sure how far it goes, but anyways, I've asked. This is just me clearing it out of the way because I just know where fans' minds go. I've asked if he became an Inquisitor under the Empire, but no one has been able to give me an answer to that question. They just say, I don't know. So it seems kind of doubtful that was part of his backstory, but I know readers will likely wonder if there's a link. And so I'm going to say, I don't think so. But somehow, or for some reason, Balon is dedicated to the mission to extract Thrawn and bring him home. I get the impression he's a loyalist, but I don't know why. There are moments that make it sound like Thrawn and Balon being reunited is a reunion that has been a long time coming for both men. If that history is shown, told, or implied, it's still a mystery. I speculate Thrawn helped him survive the Empire to wield him as a secret weapon, though. I kind of think he might have saved him and I'm going to keep these guys in my back pocket kind of thing. Balon's apprentice is named Shin, and she's played by Ivana Sakno. As mentioned before, in the latter episodes, she leads the Kintsugi or Saracen stormtroopers against Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra. By the way, did you see the Kintsugi moment in the new episode of Ted Lasso?
I did. I automatically thought of this article, to be fair.
Yeah. I was like, oh, there it is. I was like, it's a thing beyond Star Wars. And I know, a whole culture, but you know what I mean? Whatever. But then again, I get you. I'm guessing only like the rich people probably had that shit anyway. So probably isn't, I could be wrong, but probably not even really representative of like your standard Japanese culture. Just
what was also noteworthy when they were doing the Ted Lasso thing, she was having her hold the bowl and they were having like a spiritual moment whilst holding it.
Yeah.
And I thought that could relate to this as well, given that we believe it's the Night Sisters, right? This reanimated these stormtroopers and holding them together. So it made me thought of that, the spirituality role.
And Ted Lasso, Jason Sudeikis played the biker scout who punches Grogu. Was it just the voice, or was he in the costume? I never actually thought about that.
I like to imagine he's in the costume and then did punch the puppet.
And he has the mustache.
And he has the mustache underneath it, yeah.
So these undead stormtroopers are kind of like Kylo Ren's reconstructed helmet in Episode 9, but with red and gold filament that moves along the fine, veiny cracks. These troopers also have magic red bands tied around various parts of their armor that were put there by the Night Sisters, and perhaps to reanimate them after death on the battlefield. And I've asked like 5 sources who were on it about the red ties. They're all different. They're not all in the same place. They're kind of random. And so I think it's like a magic thing. I don't know if they put it over the wound and then they come back to life, or if it's just like these binds or hexes or charms, whatever it is, reinvigorate the body after death. I kind of think that's what's going on here, though. I think that's the idea. I think it's sort of like you're going to fall down, but you're going to get back up and continue fighting because you're a Terminator stormtrooper to some extent. Probably not that powerful, but you know what I mean. As I mentioned before, I've not been able to get adequate description of the armor for Balon and Shin because what was I saying with this typo? Because basically their lightsabers come up every time. I'll do a revision of this after the show. I did read through it like 3 times, but I don't know. I'm not a good editor sometimes. I'm not a good writer and a good editor at the same time. I could do either or okay, but
I
not.
don't think I'm good either. You know, I dread to think what mine looks like today. You know, I covered yours within like 15 minutes. It's probably terrible. Yeah.
But what I like about that is the people who are the most critical have never made
Mhm.
a dollar writing in their lives. So idiots. All right. The word is Balon has a lightsaber, kind of like Kylo Ren, but it has been described as a red claymore saber. It's heavier and he swings it with immense power. Supposedly, you can feel the weight of the weapon when he hits our heroes with it on screen. So, now this is slight speculation. This is slight failing on my part. When I have heard about this a few times, Kylo Ren's lightsaber comes up. There's a bit of confusion about how to describe how it's different. And what I think the difference is, I'm gonna I'm gonna minimize the article for a second. What I think the difference is like Kylo Ren's lightsaber is imagine like it's like a T, right? It's like
Mhm.
with the little side things, you know.
Right.
Whereas his is like a V with the sword coming up through it. I don't know, to some extent. So it's like, but it's a claymore sword. So it sort of has like there's are
Yeah.
poking more at you, whereas Kylo's are just more like to the side. I think that is the difference between the two lightsabers, and it's why sources aren't just saying it's Kylo Ren's lightsaber.
Mhm.
Hopefully I could get a follow up on that, but it occurred to me. It's not until you write the article that you realize, oh, I don't actually know this thing.
We might also know in about a week's time, right? Like with the Ahsoka trailer,
Fair
there'll
enough.
be a
Yeah,
chance they show it.
yeah, that is true. I would hope that they like you and I have said. I think you and I have said this. I think you agree. You're on the same page as me with it. They need to not live in the bubble on Ahsoka and be like
Mhm.
everybody loves her because of Twitter and because of years of watching a cartoon. When in actuality, like the general like Mandalorian audience is slightly like doesn't know why they care about Ahsoka. So and I
Yeah,
watched. Mhm.
the marketing for Ahsoka, you can be secretive, but you just need to show more of the quote cool moments. You
Yeah.
know, so if you have Balon or Shin swinging the sabers around, show that. If they do confirm Hayden is in the show, we know he's in it. But if they confirm it, have a
Yeah.
shot of him. Like you gotta get the casual fans on board because we're already in. All of us who watch Rebels and
Mhm.
Mando and anything else they produce, we're already there day one, and
Yeah.
they don't need to sell it to us because we've already got the ticket. You know.
Last night I took my dad and my daughter out for pho. We had some hot spicy soup, and then we came back and we watched the new episode of Mando because they hadn't seen it. And I just watched them when Zeb shows up.
Hmm.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No. They both seen Rebels to some extent. They both are familiar with it. They couldn't tell you character names probably, but they saw him and it did not register. And I was like, okay, that's kind of like my sample here. You know what I mean, though, of
Right.
an old man and a young girl who both watched Star Wars, and they were just like, So that moment, while that was all the internet would talk about, the reality is that moment meant literally nothing to a lot of the audience.
Yeah,
So
which is what we brought up. Was it yesterday regarding
mhm,
the series, regarding the episode, and we also brought up with Ahmed Best. Like it meant a lot to us, but the casual audience they have no idea who
yeah,
that is and why he's important.
right, right. Right. They're just like, this is a new Jedi that I don't know. And
Hmm.
so we don't all experience Star Wars in the same way. That's kind of the takeaway, I guess you'd say.
Hmm.
Um, so, anyways, Homeboy has a huge Claymore lightsaber that he swings around with some big dick energy, right?
Mm.
And then and then we have that juxtaposed by Shin. Her lightsaber has been described as a red rapier lightsaber, and she moves lightning fast with the blade. I've heard about the sword 4 different times, okay? And one person described it like the needle from Game of Thrones, but a bit longer. I
Right.
but I asked somebody else about that. They're like, yeah, meh. And so it was kind of like a bit. So I kind of had like sources who didn't necessarily agree on that comparison. So I didn't include it, but I'll include it in the show because it's easier to add this as a caveat. So, so together, Balon and Shin are very taxing to your standard laser sword fighter who were trained by the Jedi of the Sith. On paper, they're the perfect team when teaming up against a single foe, which probably explains how they have survived all these years. Although it's not clear how long Shin has been the Ventress to Balon's Dooku. And by the way, that was the very first thing I ever heard about her. She's like a new Ventress.
Do we know what her look is in this show?
I believe I think she has her short hair and stuff. I think.
Yeah.
But once again, it's one of those like every time that I have heard about them and stuff, it's been in the context of other things, and I just couldn't get into it, but I hope to. And I have like one more really big article that I want to drop soon. And then after that, I'm hoping I could do some more rounds of interviews with sources in the near future, and then start to elaborate on some of the stuff that we're asking, you know. And I'm hoping to see them. I want to like actually see them, because in the time that I saw Lars as Thrawn, I believe they were in that sequence. However, couldn't really see shit about them, so it's pretty useless. The armor is that he wears is like samurai like, and she also has. I think she may have a. I think she may actually have a helmet, but don't quote me on that. But I think she might have a helmet, so we'll see. I'm convinced the lightsaber fights are going to be pretty rad in Star Wars Ahsoka. The colorful Mandalorian Sabine Wren will have Ezra's green lightsaber and dual Shin with her red rapier laser sword, while Ahsoka Tano has her two white-bladed lightsabers fighting Balon's red claymore lightsaber. And I'm pretty sure those duels happen concurrently while Ezra dispatches stormtroopers with the Force in the Nodian Highlands. And remember when we saw those pictures of like all that grass and stuff that they had down there? That I believe is the Nodian Highland planet. And when I heard it of that place called that, I assumed the planet's called Nodia, but that's an assumption. So I'm not going to say it's called that because I don't 100% know. But yeah, but there's also some like weird little guys there too, some weird little critters, but I don't really have a lot to say about them at the moment, so whatever. I just love the idea of these new lightsabers in the hands of the villains fighting for Thrawn. These evil Force users with Night Sisters and Undead Stormtroopers sound really fun if things play out the way that it's been explained to me. And then I say, after watching the last week's episode of The Mandalorian, Carson Teba's warning to the Republic feels a lot more ominous in ways even Carson doesn't understand yet. Because like, this is speculation on my part, but I think we're setting up like this like culmination where you think, oh man, like, Gideon's with the Mandos now. Right? Could it get worse? And then it's like, yep, it gets a hell of a lot worse. And I was during the Mando production, I was told that Thrawn was mentioned. And I was told that it was mentioned, and Thrawn doesn't think highly of Gideon. So I don't know if those two are going to like team up or if they're in opposition or what. But either way you cut it, like with the New Republic that they've set up in The Mandalorian, they're like they want to get into post World War II life. Like that's what they want. They want like to eat ice cream and to like let people who used to be monsters like just sort of reintegrate back into like society and move on. And like, you know what I mean? Like get past it, which I could understand like the human desire for that. I think it makes sense. That's what you try to do, especially when, after years of conflict. And but it's not over, and it's going to I think they're going to do a good job just based off of what we think we know right now between Thrawn and just the Gideon and the warlords in general,
Mm-hmm.
and the pirates. You can see why this New Republic is fucked. Like they can't really just like they don't set up the perfect version of the galaxy, and then the First Order shows up and we forgot the lessons of 20 years ago or 30 years ago. It sounds like they never really got their footing, or they never.
But it's also
Mhm.
like currently there's just Imperial remnants in the galaxy in the Mandalorian at the moment.
Yeah,
But when Thrawn comes back, we don't know how many troopers Thrawn's going to have. If it's just the troopers he took with him, when Ezra got the Purgle, take him into the galaxy even further away,
right.
is it just those he's coming back with? Because that might not be a massive threat in terms of numbers, but given that they're undead and I think you said before, they get shot and they keep getting up and keep going, right?
Yeah.
They can. So you don't need like a huge army in that regard. Like it's a massive threat, but again, if you've just got the Mandalorians, the skeleton crew, various Rangers, and Ahsoka and the Ghost crew, that's
Mhm.
probably enough to take that threat on.
Mhm.
But how many do you lose in that process, in that battle?
Right.
And again, going back to episode 1, The Phantom Menace, there's always a bigger fish, right?
Mhm.
So, after Thrawn, it's going to be the First Order,
Mhm.
a fully rejuvenated empire, essentially.
And then
And the
behind that is
galaxy,
Snoke, and then behind that is
mhm,
Palpatine. It just kind of
yeah,
keeps, it's like the little Russian
and
dolls of evil.
right. And we know in that scenario, the galaxy definitely isn't prepared for it. And if we lose numbers, and we assume we would against the fight against Thrawn once he comes into the galaxy we know, it's even harder to fight the First Order and wherever else that comes. You
Right.
know, we've also got piracy rampant in the galaxy as well. So like you could take on those threats, that's distracting for the New Republic. So yeah, I think it all sets it up pretty well. I think me and you've talked about this before, and it's like we feel as if the show is going in phases.
Mhm.
This universe at least is going in phases. Um, in the Filoni Favreau universe, the Mandalorian season 3 might end one phase, Ahsoka begins another, and then years down the road, once this Thrawn arc is, wrapped up, I'm pretty sure we'll see Snoke and the First Order arrive.
Yeah.
It feels like we're building towards something like that, and that's exciting to me as a viewer and as a fan. So yeah, I'm very excited about everything you've written in this article as well. I think the sequences between Balon and Shin are going to be. I'm really interested in them. I'm also very interested in Enoch. I know he's the one we have the least amount of details on, but even
Yeah.
just the description of his design, I think is really unique and something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me about the costume for him, and they were just like saying like in their opinion, it was one of the best things that they have seen,
Mm-hmm.
like from the television shows. That was a new design entirely, and that it was, yeah. So it sounds fucking cool. I mean, the we tend to view Star Wars through the like the Skywalker saga lens, and rightfully so. It's what like defined it for us. But when you think about like the climate and like what they're doing, like you know, if this stuff does take off, if it does really like work, I mean, it could be setting the climate up for like film series down the road and stuff like that. If
Mm-hmm.
depending on how it all washes out. But I would guess that they intend to keep this stuff on the small screen,
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
general. But if it connects really, really well, it's completely possible that it'll go that way. And also the other question that I kind of have too is and it'll probably relate more to the article next week.
Mm.
But when Grand Admiral Thrawn like returns back, like does that mean do all of the Moffs have to like bow to him if they were to have any sort of imperial allegiance left in them? I don't really know how that works, to be honest with you.
But
I was like, is a Moff above a Grand Admiral, or is a Grand Admiral above a Moff?
at that point, is Thrawn even part of the Empire? Like he's
Mm-hmm.
been away for so long, and he comes back, and you've got the remnant of the Empire. And if they're in conflict with one another, he might just think, "Well, the Empire's gone. It's just these little pockets left. I'm gonna take this all for myself."
Yeah.
And maybe he thinks he could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think this will happen, but it'd be really cool if you just see a scene where he beats the shit out of Gideon.
Yeah.
Like he really like puts one over on him, and maybe he kills him. Maybe that sets up like how big of a threat, even to the people who haven't been following Thrawn throughout Rebels, or know him from the EU many years ago. You know, if they see him step into one of these TV shows and kill the villain we've come to know over the course of, say, multiple seasons, that ups the ante for the casual viewer. Like, oh my god, this guy's even worse.
Yeah.
Like, I think Bo will defeat Gideon or whatever, but
right.
I wouldn't mind seeing a scenario like that.
Yeah, or him be defeated by Bo and then killed later on by him. There's ways of doing that kind of stuff. There's ways of making people disappear, if you know what I mean. But yeah, when you look at what they're doing with Thrawn, it's kind of one of the things we were sort of hitting on yesterday for a bit. Is we didn't know if they could really write Thrawn how a book can write Thrawn. Can they convey the ideas of that, cunning, sort of, I don't know, strategy based villain, and really do it in the Mandalorian universe? I don't know if they can, but the one thing that we see that what they're doing is they're arming him with lots of tools for evil, right? Whether he's evil or really evil or not. I know a lot of people are really into the books and see him as a protagonist. I don't see anything about this story that makes me think Thrawn is a protagonist or good in any way. Everything seems to be like an antagonist.
Well,
Aria, I was just kidding, Aria. You didn't really need a super chat. Thank you, Aria. Says, will the army be like the White Walkers on Game of Thrones? Probably not as scary, right? In the sense that they are just stormtroopers with the stuff and like the thing. Hey, Rob, how's it going, man? Is it your anniversary today?
It is.
Happy anniversary!
Hey, thank you. We have French patissier, really great French patissier in town, and my wife has a sugar coma now, so I do well with it now with my more balanced diet. But
nice.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Thrawn, and we were bringing up yesterday's points of Favreau and Filoni writing this universe. What was your take on Rebels Thrawn? Did you enjoy how Filoni wrote him there? Because that's probably the most similar comparison.
That would be the one who I would think that would probably be the closest, but it still kind of has its hands tied in the sense that it was Star Wars Rebels, so it was generally coming in, I think, at Y7, which right? Am I right about that? I could be wrong. It might have been Y14, but I think it was like Y7 most of the time. So yeah, Thrawn there for me was I just thought it was a bit limp. I wasn't impressed. I thought it was a good bad guy for the show. But I wasn't like super impressed. I was never like, ooh, he really got one over, like, checkmate. You know what I mean? There weren't really that many of those kinds of moments. And one friend was telling me, they're like, yeah, like Thrawn in the in the show, he's a little more portly. You know what I mean? He's not Mickelson's not super fit. Not to say I think he's like out of shape, but he's not super fit. So like they're like, don't expect him to be like, doing judo chops and stuff like he did in Rebels, which is because they didn't know that this source didn't know that he was in Rebels. And I sent them that scene. And they're like, no, he's not like that. So yeah, but I see your point though. I mean, I do think that is like the closest to the writing style would be what we got in Rebels, but also Rebels was like Simon Kinberg and Greg Weisman, and all those people were also involved in there. And so I think there was maybe there was more cooks in that kitchen than there will be on Ahsoka. So who knows? But so Rob, did you go full Grogu? Did you give her a foot rub today? Just say this is a foot rub for my wife. Did you tell her you're my Bo-Katan?
Would you ever give another man a foot rub? Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know that I had to use that. I saw Pulp Fiction on VHS with my girlfriend in high school, right when it first came out, and her family was super religious, and I would go to their church to get donuts or just to get out of the house, right, and put up with their propaganda. But we're at this youth group once after we had seen Pulp Fiction, and the youth pastors thought it'd be a really good idea to have the girls specifically, wash their feet. Like Jesus, right? Wash up. They tried to tie this. And I'm like, I looked at my girl. I said, I'm not washing anyone's feet. She's not washing anyone. I don't think anybody should be washing a bunch of dudes' feet, let alone girls or kids or whatever. This is disgusting. And I looked at my girlfriend, who's like, well, because she was still like, indoctrinated. I looked at her and I said, would you ever wash another man's foot? she just mouthed the words, fuck you, right? Like, yeah, they got it. Like,
yeah,
we're not doing that here. We're not doing that
here. Before the show started, Joel asked, he said, you guys put on one hell of a podcast. Keep it up. Where could I buy some of Rob's art?
Thank you, Joel. So normally I have a store up called shopsketchcraft.com. The URL works. It goes to my Etsy. Right now, everything is down because I'm not in a position to ship things because of my work schedule. Things will go up between now and in June or so. So cool. I do all my own shipping, and it's really nice, really well put together, but it just takes time, and I've tried automated services, and I hate the quality of everything that's produced that way. So I will have stuff in the store, shopsketchcraft.com. You just bookmark it. When I say stuff's up and we'll put a link, I'll promote. But for now, it's only down because of deadlines.
Yeah. And when he puts it back up, we'll make sure to share it on here and stuff.
Yeah, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but Aria, in terms of like your question, like, yeah, I think that they will fall in battle and then they will get back up. So that right there, that magic though, I don't know what the parameters of that magic are. We also have a witch who was sort of a war profiteer for the Empire. She was making stuff for the Empire for a time after the Night Sisters were wiped out. That's sort of how she makes her money, I guess. Maybe she was contracted via Thrawn for the jobs originally, for all we know, if we want to get into the details, right? But what if, I'm just throwing this out here, what if they go find old battlefields and resurrect more stormtroopers that were just laid out there? You know what I mean? What if they go to like Minban and there's just all these stormtroopers in the mud and they just start bringing them out as the stories go on? Like, once you introduce that power into it, you almost have to, like, in order to ultimately defeat it, you're going to have to like go to the source of the power. It's sort of like the Lost Boys vampires. You got to kill the head vampire to get rid of all the other vampires, right? Or you're just going to keep the cycle going. So there's a lot that could happen in the narrative as it moves on, but I don't know if it really goes there, but that would be, it could be fun. But I also don't know how much they're harping on some of the stuff. I don't know how much of a focus on the undead warriors are going to be. But like pirates freak people out. Like pirates do things to like show like the pirates are here. Oh, we know that's the pirate king. Everybody gets scared. Everybody freaks out. But I would think that having undead stormtroopers would really do it for you. Oh, come on. Tell me if that Moss man was trying to fucking give you a foot massage, you wouldn't be scared. You'd be scared.
If they could bring back stormtroopers, do you think they could bring back Balon or Shin if they get killed?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that would be weird, right? But what would that entail? Like, and there's like things that I don't know if the story will delve into that I think fans the hardcores will be considering the whole time, because like Ahsoka dies and she's brought back by in Mortis by the sister. The sister like literally gives up her spiritual avatar to return Ahsoka back to life. So Ahsoka herself has died and come back. And so what does that do? Does that have any play into this and how they view her and stuff like that? There could be interesting things there if they want to like delve into it. Like in that new Harry Potter game, the protagonist can see contrails of ancient magic that other people that use the current Harry Potter magic can't see. So there could be weird shit like that in the show for Ahsoka that we just can't really, but I have no evidence for that. That's just me speculating what all of this jazz could do and what it could mean and what they might do with it, But oh yeah, and Santa said that he sees Thrawn as a good guy at heart. He tries to save lives and protect innocence. See, that's what the books told you, and you're moving on the idea that Dave Filoni read that book and that Dave Filoni cares about what that book had to say and that he agreed with it. So if he does, then you would be completely right.
Well, it's not unlike Dave to change things already in canon. So
yeah, like he literally changed the Mandalorians in canon during the Clone Wars, and people flipped the fuck out when that happened during the Clone Wars. Like we think a lot of the current fan reactions to change is like new, but it's not. It was just smaller then because the fan base was smaller then. It was just more quiet. And so it's been weird to see, and I'm glad, but it's been weird to see Dave treated as a villain, and then later on be treated as like this like white knight of Star Wars who's going to save it. It's like he does the same thing everybody else does. He's the same. He believes in his creative vision just as much as the next creator. So confidently.
No, Jason.
Oh, hey, Dave.
I'm the pearl white knight. Know what I'm saying?
Right. You are the pearly whites of Star Wars. You're right.
Cloudy white. You know what I mean?
Oh man. Salty white even. Yeah.
Hey, too much. It's too on the tip. Know what I'm saying? All right, that's enough, Dave.
Yeah, that guy.
Go be a villain.
He even put his stupid hat in Star Wars now. I saw his stupid. I rewatched the episode again last night. I saw his stupid hat in the space bar, in the pilot bar, and I was like, man, he's even made that a thing. But anyways, Dale says Dave doesn't care about the books most of the time. I mean, we kind of saw Tales of the Jedi, right? Is that what it was called? Tales of the Jedi? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tales of the Jedi.
You watched it. You tell me.
Oh, dude, come on, give me a break. That isn't.
I bailed.
No, that's
organic.
No, that was good. It was well done.
No,
but
sorry, I bail Antilles. How about
Antilles? Yeah, Antilles the hell out of it. No, but it was good. But there's just these titles. There's just too many of them. I mean, there's been how many fucking Star Wars titles have been thrown at me in the last decade? Most of them aren't really that memorable. That one fits though. That one actually tells you what the show is. It's Tales of the Jedi. But in that one right there, it retells some of the, I think it's E.K. Johnston's Ahsoka story, but it's took Dave's story for that book, and then Dave's like took a story back and told it how he wanted to. So there are differences. I just don't remember.
Which one's
canon? Well, obviously we know that whatever's on screen is gonna take the highest.
No, you told me it's all canon. We can't have the movies whatever on film be the final canon. It's canon's canon, right?
But the events do happen in that book. That it is still there. Like it is the same story essentially. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't a hierarchy of medium here in terms of what brings in the dollar to Lucasfilm, and and what has the most eyes on it is ultimately the most important thing. But that's also why you're never going to see these cartoons just get railroaded in live action in like a storied way. You might have an Inquisitor who has a round head instead of a pointy head, but whatever,
I don't know. Fans are changing that. I've seen some fan edits where they're like changing that.
Fans are crazy, man.
They got like it's not the head that's gonna fix Kenobi. Just so you know, folks. I get it. It's what you can control, but like that's
right.
Man. Maybe if when Leia runs, she gets the blue sonic streak. Like that would help. Add a little rings, like she can. When she runs through the forest, she can pick up some rings too.
Right.
That might help make it more fun.
Okay. So here we go. This is the news story I am excited about from Bespin Bulletin.
Oh shit!
What
have we been saying? Speaking of what we thought Kenobi should have been.
Yeah, the Green Knight's David Lowery directed an episode of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and you can
the
support
Salad Knight.
You could
Did he
support
direct the Salad Night episode?
Yeah, kinda. I can see the salad guy, the pirate, and him making love. They'd be a good couple. Tree Man and Leaf Man. You know,
perfect. You would look for a second. Be honest, folks. You thought that was a screen cap from Skeleton Crew or Star Wars. Like, just be honest.
Oh,
For
yeah,
once,
yeah, no.
let's scale it out. Like, that's if that was a lightsaber blade. That's, I mean, the production.
Chris
on
would be
that was
losing his
pretty
shit.
Excellent.
Oh yeah,
Like, he's got white robes.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
it looks like Chris too. You know, like, to be honest.
Yeah. I know, but
like that.
Lowery is who I wanted for Willow the whole time, and he loves Willow, and he was inspired to make the Green Knight because of Willow. What was Lucasfilm thinking?
You could have also had Taika for Willow. Taika also loves Willow,
and Taika and Lowery would have been the Willow dream team, right there.
100%.
That would have been it, you know, because you do want it to be funny, but you want it to be mystical. And I think he would have brought the mystical, and he would have brought the funny, and it would have been fantastic. But maybe they said maybe they said, Lowery, we want you to know, we want to do it, but we want to know, what do you think about Phoebe Bridgers playing a song in the middle of Willow? And he was like, I'm good. So you can support Bespin on ko-fi.com/bestspinbulletin, and you could give him a little tip. So 2 weeks ago, this is from bestspinbulletin.com. 2 weeks ago, it was reported that directing duo The Daniels directed an episode of Skeleton Crew, a Star Wars live-action series created by Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts and Chaos Walking writer Christopher Ford. Watts is set to direct an unspecified number of episodes of the series. I've heard at least 2, and he seems to be keeping good company with the addition of the Daniels, whose latest flick, Everything Everywhere All at Once, swept this year's Academy Awards with 7 wins. It's now being reported by One Take News. So One Take News is the originator of this, and I just now during the show got it that the trades are now reporting it, because after One Take News did, who broke the Daniels story that another critically acclaimed director, David Lowery, also helmed an episode of the series. Lowery is no stranger to the Disney wheelhouse, having previously directed and writing Pete's Dragon, which wasn't good in my opinion, for the media juggernaut, and directed the upcoming Disney Plus film Pan and Wendy. That's about a pansexual Wendy who's in Peter Pan. Is that right? Which is set for release next month and stars the lead of Skeleton Crew, Jude Law. Other notable work from Lowery includes the critically acclaimed A Ghost Story and 2001's multi-award winning Green Knight, which is most likely the work he's best known for as of today. And I did like A Ghost Story, but it was a little bit slow. But it's an A24 movie. What the fuck are you gonna do? Lowery is certainly an interesting choice as a director for the series, but one that makes sense and is most certainly a fun addition to the series alongside Watts and the Daniels. Lowery has had experience with directing a younger cast with the upcoming Pan and Wendy, though we don't know to what results. Skeleton Crew stars Jude Law, Fantastic Beasts, Secrets of Dumbledore, as a teacher, with the story focusing on a group of children lost in the galaxy trying to find their way back home. The series is inspired by 80s Amblin movies such as The Goonies, and is set during the same time period as The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, with the creators of those series, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, on board Skeleton Crew as executive producers. Skeleton Crew is slated to release exclusively on Disney Plus later this year, and you can see the trailer for Lowery's latest effort, Pan and Wendy, below. Oh, so it's like little kid Peter Pan. I thought it was like fucking Robin Williams again.
Yeah, that's why I included it, was just because obviously he's working with a younger cast in this one. So it's like, maybe we can get some sort of idea of how it might pan out.
I see what you did there. You said pan out. You said pan out, dude. Yeah,
I don't think there's gonna be any of the scenes from Green Knight in that Wendy thing. It's hard to say though. I've been here though. Trailer.
I've been here. Like somebody's like, take this. You're like, okay. You're on the beach. You're having a good time. Also, look down at your hands, and there's like magic dust flying off of it. Yeah, that happens.
It's
that's when the Daniels
so
comes
maybe
in.
She's like, Mila Jovovich's daughter. I'm going to be in Resident Evil 30, right? Like,
but I mean, I know.
This is hard though.
Look at the visuals
gauge.
on it though. It looks good. I mean, it does. The
And
visuals aren't bad.
Didn't
It
somebody?
still has that weird. Go ahead.
I was saying, isn't somebody on Pan and Wendy who also did Scouter Crew? Not Lowery, but like, is it one of the cinematographers or something?
I'm not sure, but that would make sense considering.
Yeah, like that stuff looks great, but it still has that dark look that I don't know. There's weird. You know when you put like it's almost like when Tony Scott would put on those weird filters, right? It's almost like there's a thing in Hollywood now where they're doing this weird vignette filter thing on the digital.
Yeah, I like that on my Instagram.
Without using an actual. Right, but without actually using a real anamorphic lens, like Greg Fraser used anamorphic lenses on the Batman, which will give you a vignette, but it's in the lens. This all appears like a post look, and it just, I don't know, it has a weird look to me. But
Tinkerbell's not white, you guys. Some guys going crazy about that somewhere.
Like it's almost impossible to see anything in some of these shots, though. Like these outside night shots, you know, like.
Oh, I don't know if that's me fucking playing it through the browser and stuff, but
no, I watched this trailer.
You watched it?
Times, you know, yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. I mean,
again, like, hold on, go back. I want to just show you compositionally. Here's something that I find strange, right? So,
back further,
back a little bit more. When they're in front of the mountain, right there, like they're flying in front of a dark mountain. Straight on, so you can't see them, and you're not one of them, so you're not seeing through their eyes. It's just one of those weird things where so you lose track of people, so you start looking around at the water. You start, that's when they cut down. But it's like,
what if the shot follows them zipping and zooming and 360 all around, and then the trailer just shows that moment because trailers are stupid sometimes.
Correct. They are going to end up looking down, but what you would do is track over Wendy's shoulder the whole time. You wouldn't pull back and then go back in. It's just modern filmmaking now, where they sort of they try to apply sometimes the heavy silhouette stuff to camera work versus using moving a camera in animation. Way different than drawing things, like way different. And some of these things are set up like compositional drawings brought to life.
Yeah.
So if you want a more in-depth discussion on this from someone because our audience, they won't trust me. They're gonna be like, Rob thinks he knows everything. You have a point. But Peter Chung, director of Aeon Flux, right? Right? 30 years of animation, has a directing class on projectcity.tv for $399. And he's been a live action director. It's not just limited to animation. And he will explain to you folks why this is a problem.
Yeah. So, I'm going to explain to you why this Tinkerbell makes Julia Roberts look like a Karen at Walmart. I think she's actually a better Tinkerbell than Julia Roberts in the shots.
Julia Roberts had a horrible wig in that movie.
Yeah. So that's why I was calling her a fucking Karen at Walmart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There he is. This Jude Law.
Oh yeah, look at him laying down the law. I didn't even recognize him at first. That's called acting, guys. Yeah, I don't hate it. Just looking at it, it might be okay.
Yeah, I don't think it does the director of Green Knight many favors. This sort of
director from Green Knight, he's got bills, man. He's got kids. He's got
I'm not. He's doing a studio thing. I just don't think it's fair.
Yeah,
it's like trying to gauge Tim Burton's Dumbo against what Tim Burton can do. It's not fair. Disney has a certain expectation when you're there. So
now we know that Tim Burton can't do shit unless Jenna Ortega tells him how to do it. What is this? Is this coming out in the movie theater?
No,
it's Disney Plus.
Okay, because like they have like April 28th and they have like PG and stuff, and it makes it look like it's like a movie theater thing right here. Okay, now I see it. Never mind.
I don't have a ton of confidence in it, only because they bumped up Haunted Mansion from a Disney Plus release to theatrical. They didn't do it for this.
Yeah,
and there's not a ton of like competition for this movie at the tail end of April, which is when it's coming out. Obviously, you've got the Mario movie at the start, but towards the end, like you've just got Evil Dead Rise. There's not.
Well, I mean, I could say two things to that though. Number one is horror-based stuff, even when it's silly horror and not really horror, tends to probably do better theatrically. But also, how many fucking Peter Pan movies have failed since Disney's Peter Pan? Like all of them. I don't know why they keep making Peter Pan movies, because nobody fucking goes to see them.
Thank you.
They're also trying
It's
to,
weird.
They're also trying to make money, right?
The only Peter Pan movie that I enjoyed outside of the 1950s version was that. Remember, Fox had a Peter Pan cartoon in the 90s on Fox Cartoon, Fox Kids. That was actually pretty good. Like, actually, like, you know, that. I mean, and I do enjoy Dustin Hoffman's performance. Dustin Hoffman and Bob Hoskins in Hook the movie. But everything else in the movie is horrible. Like, I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to kill myself right now. I'm going to kill myself. You better stop me, Smee.
Okay, we're demonetized now. Thanks, buddy. I'm kidding.
That did it?
No. I like Hook. It's not the best Spielberg movie of all time by any means, but I like the movie. It has a lot of like good parts. It's not Jurassic World or Jurassic Park 2 or anything, you know. Like, I think it's
Georgie's big date. I got a real nice role in that film.
You guys have your Kendall says, I'm very excited for Mario. Me too. I got midnight tickets. Me and the kids are going to midnight.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like Mario Van Peebles. Yeah.
No, Super Mario.
Oh.
The very Italian man who is Chris Pratt.
Oh, he's a cyber character, right?
What was that, George?
That guy's a cyber character. He's not real.
Yeah, he's not real.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. But yeah, I'm seeing it at midnight. When do I go? Do I go April 4th at midnight, or do I go April 5th at midnight? I can't remember now. I need to look it up on the tickets. But yeah, I'm excited too, dude. It'd be cool.
I'm gonna go rewatch Me Kissing Carrie. I'm out of here.
I've waited. In Hook, right? It's in Hook that he kisses.
Yeah, they're on the bridge.
Yeah, on the bridge.
When they take off, that some of the fairy dust falls on these couples kissing on the bridge, and they lift up in there, and that's Lucas and Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, and then they like literally realize what's happening, and they fall to their deaths, and they died. Think about it, right? They don't know what they're doing. They died.
It rhymes. It's like poetry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then David Lowery's gonna do an A24 movie about their kids and what happened, in the aftermath.
Look how good the directors are in this series, though. You've got John Watts, the Daniels, and David Lowery.
That's almost a dream. So far, that's almost like a dream series of directors on that series.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's just, pray to God, Salad the Hut isn't the thing that they're stuck with dealing with.
Well, if it was Salad the Hut, they're gonna make it look good. They're gonna make it probably look better than what we saw in The Mandalorian, though. For what it's worth, But it's going to be. I mean, like Lowery, I don't think was hired because of. Well, I'm not gonna say wasn't hired because of the work he's done, but I think Lowery was most likely came aboard because of his love of 80s fantasy and 80s Amblin films and things like his love for Willow, which if you watch interviews with him for the Green Knight, he lays out like he loves the stuff. He knows that stuff. So I'm excited to see what his take on that is. And I think he's going to probably do a good job because, like I said, when he talks about Willow, he talks about Willow correctly. He doesn't talk about Willow incorrectly, like some people who made a Willow series recently. So
I wonder how much influence he'll have though on his own episode.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if John Watts or Christopher Ford, whichever one of them is showrunning, they'll be the true directors. But
do we end up like with the Robert Rodriguez situation where you kind of get the sense that maybe Favreau and Filoni were like, we can't tell Robert Rodriguez what to do, and then in the end we have an inconsistent vision. We could be up with something like that in this if we want to be real about what the pitfalls of such a plethora of talent could be, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, also, if any of these guys were doing a movie, we'd be very excited about it, right? Lowery, the Daniels, or Watts were doing a Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's. I mean, it's sort of a shame that we don't have movies coming from them, but
right? Isn't it?
But
They'd all
no,
be fired anyway. We know. We did this once before, right? They hired all the young talent, the young bucks, and then they fired them. So.
And brought in Ron Howard, safe pair of hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, it is probably for Lucasfilm and us. This is probably the best way for it to go down, though, because like Lowery is obviously somebody who I think that they would have considered for Star Wars projects in the past or before would have talked to, even if nothing came out of it.
Before they got shook in their boots,
Mm-hmm.
they got Solo scared, right? No.
Well. What's funny is every single time there's a Star Wars movie coming out, it's the most important thing that's going to prove that Star Wars matters every single time. It never matters. Like everyone's like, why would they pick Charmin for this most important Star Wars movie? And it's just like, you got to say that every single time, because every single time you do it, it proves something. So it's like, but point is that like, yeah, we had a lot of like Rockstar directors, like Abrams. I remember why Abrams came back for 9 was because of the Rockstar safeness of that. And these directors who they have aboard here, though, are, I would say, probably the future rock stars, if not the current rock stars now. Especially when you go and win like 7 Academy Awards on your film, it's kind of hitting rock star territory, I'd say. Yeah, right? I mean, you could be a one-hit wonder. That is possible, but I don't think so. There was so much imagination and talent involved in everything everywhere all at once that if they sort of just burned out from that, I would be really surprised. It's happened, but I'd be surprised. I don't think they're going to be M. Night Shyamalans.
Their other movie's pretty good as well. Swiss Army Man, that's pretty good.
I still haven't seen that one.
There's nothing like it, Jason. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's where, what do you go after Harry Potter? That's what you do.
Right.
Bravo to that guy. Like everyone involved. That was like, everyone here deserves a big night at Sizzler. You know what I mean? Like, right. Yeah. Or in my favorite case, Fuddruckers, but Sizzler, more people,
But I mean, it was like probably about a year ago, like when Green Knight came out, and I was just like gushing about it every episode of the show. Give this guy something in Star Wars. And so I'm really, really glad. I'm really, really, really happy about this news, because, if he does go and he does do like an excellent job, like we saw Deborah Chow delivered on her Kenobi episodes, they gave her the Kenobi series. So it doesn't matter what the end result was. It matters.
Taika got a movie.
That happened. Taika got a movie after doing the finale of The Mandalorian season 1. And so these guys
need that shirt. If we're in the merch store, Jason, we need Taika got a movie. Like,
Taika got a movie.
Can they not let us sell Taika got a movie? They have to let us sell Taika got a movie, right?
We could sell Taika got a movie.
I need that shirt. Taika got a movie.
Yeah.
I need that shirt now, man.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so these directors all aboard with this, it definitely says something good about what can happen. And like, if you're just looking at it not from a financial perspective, but when you're like a John Watts, they're like, do you want to make a Star Wars movie? And then it's like this make or break moment for a large part of your legacy, because if it's a terrible movie, people always say you fucked up Star Wars and you bombed it out. But then also you have to do all of your ideas to get everything you have to say like in this one picture. But when they give you a series, you literally, like, the stakes are lower, the chance for love is more, and you get to have more of your like creative ideas like expressed, like all of it pretty much thrown into like that one thing. And so I could see like why like the Watts, like John Watts may have preferred taking on this live action show over, a film. That makes sense to me in my head anyway.
Tell that to Deborah Chow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's
right. Do whatever you want. No one cares. Like,
well, no, but the no. Okay, let's not act like she just fucking showed up with a fucking like joint in her hand and a fucking big gulp and like said, yeah, just do the scene. Like it wasn't like that.
I'm not
but
saying
it was
that's her viewpoint. I'm saying it can be as big in fans' eyes as a movie, is what I'm trying to say. If it doesn't go well.
Well, I have a theory.
With that comment.
I have a theory that the live action SoCal Star Wars productions might have kind of like, not to blame it on them, because the crew is cool. I don't mean to like shit on them, but like the way that the time that the second unit has to get what they need, I think is where a lot of this stuff comes in that we laugh at. When it comes down to like the explosions in that last episode, which were comical. I wasn't like scared for them. I was laughing at them when they were getting blasted by the pirates.
You know what I was also thinking of today when we were driving back? We were driving back from the Patissier, and we went by one of those like mining places that had like piles of dirt. And I'm like, I can't believe they just had Obi-Wan and Vader run between some piles of dirt. Like, I just can't believe that was a plan. Not like, let's use this mining facility as something we can set, extend, and build off of. Like, no, we're just going to have them run around piles of dirt. Like, that is crazy to me. Like,
no, it was, no, I'm with you. And it's like, and like in that moment right there, you could tell like the error was, we're going to make small duel and then we're going to up it. And then in the second duel, we will up it. And then I think most people felt that the second duel was adequate and were generally happy with it. But in doing that small duel, they just underdid it. It was not planned out enough.
They did small duel in a big wide open space, which is ridiculous. The small duel should have been like in that cave that Leia was running in, or something close quarters combat, something where you can be in a small area and affect walls and items and claustrophobia. And then when it gets big at the end,
we could run.
But the end battle is in a big open area. So when you contrast that open area, which had money and effort and all that, had the big money behind it, to the we're going to run around piles of dirt and in an equally open area without set extensions, just an open area, it falls apart,
Just like 2 days ago, I saw some people talking about it, and they're like, "Oh, fucking Joby Harold's writing." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, but Joby Harold can't write choreography necessarily. Like to some extent, there could be some ideas, some gags, some things to happen, but for the most part, I don't blame Joby Harold for that fucking duel looking like that or being shot that way." And I don't know if Deborah Chow walked away from that going, "That's great," or if it was like, "I need more," and they were like, "Nope, we don't know what happened there."
Right.
But we do know that she did good work on The Mandalorian, and then we got to the Kenobi series, and we had all of those really flat, dead-on shots. And she's more of a dramatic director than a visual spectacle director, possibly.
Also, not for nothing, right? I think it's unfair to ask a lot. Some directors could probably pull this off, but to ask one person to shoot 6 to 8 hours worth of narrative story, at one bit, and construct each one like a mini movie, is pretty unrealistic, right?
And she didn't. She's the only one who's done that too. Which is
and that's where the studio set her up for some failure, in my opinion.
Yeah, 6 is the smallest amount we've ever got for a season. Usually they're 8 episode seasons, but she's the only one who did them all. And that's
she's also the showrunner on the show.
And the showrunner. It was too much for one person.
It's too much. How many? Some people could do it, but that's like saying, hey man, some people could shoot Dr. Zhivago. Some people could shoot Full Metal Jacket. So what? Like, like there's 100 other projects to make out there other than Full Metal Jacket. So don't base it around that. So yeah, I think that's the unfair. Her show running, fine. Her directing the first and maybe last episode, fine. Her directing, look, we saw 6 hours of content, but there had to be 30, 40 hours worth of content. I don't know how, unless they were doing quick takes and moving on, so they could just say we got, how much. They couldn't have been doing many takes, right? It had to be like as as in the camera as we got as much as possible, right?
I think the moments with emotional resonance got a lot of care and love, and then things like Princess Leia running from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, not so much. And I think that's where it was one take, and that's where I think it was second unit stuff. And but those are the notable failures of that series. You know, the ones that we criticize. Nick says, "Happy anniversary, Rob." And
thanks, Nick. Appreciate that.
Jedi Mike says, Ewan dropped the executive producer ball in Kenobi in his opinion. And see, the thing about it is I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that executive producer credit had a lot to do with what his character was going to do, how he was going to perform it, and what was going to happen in those moments and that kind of stuff. And I'm guessing that Ewan got what he wanted. But it was, in the other places that most of the critique comes, I'd say. And also looking at it from Ewan's perspective, he came off of the prequels, which everyone was like, you need to talk to Darth Vader more. we need to have conflict between you guys. And like, we need to like have more of that relationship built out. And all you're doing is space dancing with laser swords. So then they go and they kind of do the opposite a little bit. And then people are mad about it. So it's like, no, people want the space dancing with laser swords, but they also want that conflict at the same time. And that's why they should have hired
Lowery,
Nick Gillard. Come on, bring him back.
Lowery's was also the guy who like he seemed in the Green. Look, it's just based off the Green Knight, but it seemed that he understood complicated relationships that aren't being vocalized. Because you look at the relationship between the Green Knight, or I call him the Green Knight. He's not the Green Knight. The Green Knight's a big fucking tree dude, but the main dude and King Arthur. And if you didn't know that was King Arthur, you wouldn't know. But there's a complicated story there, and it's not being explicitly told. Like, I'm not picking on Mando, but in the current season of Mando, where they would go, "That's King Arthur, and he wants to speak to you," they don't do that. Like, it's there's a lot of subtextual stuff that's happening in that, but it's intentionally being done. It's not an after effect of us staring at a screen and projecting our own wants and desires. There is an untold story being told through the visuals and through performance in the Green Knight that I think would benefit Kenobi, because the more specific you get with Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship, I think the more troubled it gets. But you do want more than Lucas maybe not doing that, because like, oh, when it's too specific, then you fucking hate him. And when it's not specific enough, you're like, we don't know how they were friends. You need someone who can handle really weird relationships, and that I think Lowery mastered that in the Green Knight. Like, yeah.
I mean, like I said, I've watched the movie probably 4 times since it's come out, and I think it's a classic. I don't know if I don't know what the cultural impact will be, but I think it's fucking stellar, and I'm hoping he brings that level of like detail and care to Star Wars and is able to, because like when it comes to Star Wars, it's sort of weird. It's like we always say, like, it ultimately the director is the one who gets the accolades and the ire if it's not great, or if it fails, or when it fails. But at the same time, Star Wars is always a little bit more complicated than that in this studio system. George Lucas doing it, different game than what J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, Gareth Edwards, fucking Tony Gilroy, all of their experiences are all completely different than what George Lucas's was. And so I'm gonna say, I think that at least we know that like the show is in like the best hands. And after all of the shit about the troubled production, so glad to know that like there's really talented people aboard. I think that should put confidence in fans' hands, who, when they hear trouble, are like, oh, it means it's going to be bad. But trouble doesn't mean it's going to be bad.
Do you think we're going to have even more directors of this sort of caliber on board this series? Because it's kind of a stark contrast to where you look at the directors who were on The Mandalorian, for example. I'm not shitting on him. I love him. He's Apollo Creed. But Carl Weathers compared to like John Watts or David Lowery or the Daniels, like that's a big jump. Most of the people on The Mandalorian primarily did TV content, right? You know, I know they got Rachel Morrison on the latest season, who did was she the director of photography on Wakanda Forever? And obviously you got Lee Isaac Chung, who did Minari, but in general, it's usually just like TV people. Which again, I'm not shitting on TV people because there's some talented people doing that. But these, like we said, these are the rock stars of like this current era, this current age. So, are we expecting more sort of names to be attached like this? Not like, because they do smaller movies, right? Like Green Knight is an A24 movie. So is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Some people in that sort of range.
Yeah, but both of those films are not the most expensive films, but delivered acted like they were $200 million movies at times. You
like
know?
The original Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
To an extent, THX 1138 and American Graffiti.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. I just think there's a sweet spot. It's very elusive to find with Star Wars, where you need someone that understands top to bottom, right, filmmaking, from like Lucas understood because of his work with Zoetrope and everything, top to bottom, from production, funding, writing, even hiring people, editing, understands all of it, not just the one thing, and it knows how to keep it within a certain scope, but make the scope bigger. Like that's something that James Cameron, that's why he excelled at Roger Corman's studio, because he could take something that was, you know, $400,000 and make it look like $4 million. Or in the case of the Terminator, take a $16 million or $6 million budget and make it look like $6 million into a $20 million range, you know, or and then take a $30 million movie like Aliens and make it look like 50, 60 to 100 million, you know, like that's the trick. When it just looks, that may have been Deborah Chow, I don't know, I'm speculating, you know, when someone comes from drama, they're not knowing to have the eye that you're like, this does not look like a bigger scope thing than it should, you know?
Right.
Like that's very difficult because that's not what their focus is. Their focus is performances perhaps. And her character work. No, I don't think anyone's saying that the young girl who played Leia when she's acting with Ewan is inappropriate or goofy or off, you know, all that stuff is really good.
Yeah. She was talented.
So yeah, I just think that's the hardest part. Maybe the A24, you know, directors or cats that understand working within that budget and expanding the feel and scope of something without literally expanding the scope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where, when we, you know, the internet is like I always say, I won't really care about defending Kathleen Kennedy or praising her necessarily. Like I don't really have a dog in the fight. It doesn't really matter to me that much. But the thing, I think, for all the criticism that she gets as the head of Lucasfilm, look at the like eclectic filmmakers that she's allowed to be a part of the current generation of Star Wars stories, and for the most part, I'm pretty pleased with it. And
I just wish they had just. I agree with you. I'm not trying to cut you off.
Yeah,
I just that when I've seen, she has. But then when you hire Lord and Miller and then fire those cats, and I understand all the specifics, I'm generalizing the time. I don't want to get into a long John Campea preamble before we get to the conversation every time I bring it up.
Yeah.
But like, that's where you got to say, do we trust the director's vision or are we trusting the producers / writer's vision? You know what I mean?
And that's what I was trying to say earlier, is I don't believe there will ever really be a rock solid version of the director's vision and like the producer's vision. I kind of think it's always going to be a compromise. I do. I think that was somebody who came in, said what his ideas were. They said what they wanted. He met him in the middle. They fucking shook hands, happy, knowing that that's the plan. And they executed the plan flawlessly. And they were happy with what they did. Like, that's what I think happened there. I think the problem is that Star Wars is so big and vast that a lot of filmmakers and directors, they don't know what's going to arise until, like today in the article I wrote, I realized there was little details that I just hadn't considered that I wanted to put in the article that would have been good to ask on a, if I could have done a follow-up interview. And like those directors hit those moments, and then that's where shit starts to break down for a lot of them, I think. You know, when their vision starts to change or expand, or they start to get deeper into it, that's when the friction comes in. And I don't think Lucasfilm is super catering or happy with on-set surprises, though. I think if you are going to do something and you tell them what you're going to do and you've worked it out, it's in the script and stuff like that, you're cool. But they gave Gareth Edwards his little hour of experimentation every day, and that came about from but film this and then you can do that stuff, okay? And then that stuff was mostly not in the movie. They put it in some of the ads.
This is a shame because visually those shots are fucking amazing.
They're good. Yeah.
They're the ones that stood out. And I'm like, I feel like the stuff that tends to stand out, not all of it, but the stuff that tends to stand out is when you feel like you're seeing the director's point of view. You feel like you're seeing the eye of an artist and not a camera that's pulled back doing a studio movie. That was the point I was making about like the Wendy shots. It's not that it's just compositionally flat in front of something. It's that I'm not seeing a director's eye. I'm seeing like, we got coverage. It's all in there. We got the island and there's the water and the kids, and I'm like, yeah, you did that, but that's different from an A24 thing where generally, because you have a smaller budget, you are constantly putting the camera into the eye of the person that is currently at the POV, right? And if you think about one of the best executions I've seen was that fight in Everywhere, Everything, where when the security guards show up, and so like it goes from Michelle Yeoh's POV to Short Round's. I'm sorry, I forget his fucking name. Ki Kwan, right? So you, but you feel like you're with him. You're not just looking at him doing something cool. You feel you are with him. Like this guy is actually now he's like I'm gonna kick some. It's brilliant, and that's not an easy thing to do. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. So I am super excited about this. I just hope that we get to see that POV with these directors. You know what I mean? In these episodes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we have an ensemble cast at play in this, and like so some of these directors may gravitate towards some of those characters, and they may be featured more than which might be a good thing too. Like I know if I was directing that little blue kid, he's gonna be in everything. Nick said, I heard on yesterday's show it only costs £4.99 for you to join my cult. So here's mine. I have you now. Once again, thank you, Nick, for this with the super chat. But you just got to click the channel member button, and then you're able to chat during the member only days.
What cult did we join yesterday for £5?
Oh,
you don't remember?
Yeah, that's because you joined the cult, and I wiped your memory afterwards.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also, Nick, that's £5 to Jason. Jason's in your cult.
Yeah.
I've told you before what it takes for me to join your cult. So if you can promise me that, then I'll be in.
I'm gonna say beers at Celebration. Might be a good one.
Definitely not. No.
Oh, definitely not. Oh, okay. But all right, well, guys, I think we did it all. I mean, we went for an hour 23. I think we talked about the two news stories of the day. Wasn't a bad news day for Star Wars, surprisingly. So, but tomorrow be back at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's the time I intend to go live. I don't think I've stuck to that all week, but whatever. We do's it when we do's it. But thank you for coming and hanging out with me today, Bespin, and especially on such short notice. And thank you for taking some time out of your anniversary day to come hang out with us today, Rob.
Oh yeah, no problem. He's just passed out. Sugar hat. Dogs are passed out. They got bullies. They're everyone. I'm the only one working. So thought I'd jump. I was like, hey, they're on. Do I super chat or do I join? I don't know.
Oh, you should have super chatted. I'd take the money.
I should have.
No, we would have joined your cult as well.
Yeah. I doubt that. No one likes my cult.
I don't know.
Cult.
if Nick was referring to what Bestman said, he said, "I can't work miracles, dude." I don't know what he's saying it to, but it makes me laugh.
You know what he's saying it to, because we both requested the same thing.
Oh wait, can play Fortnite?
No. It's to do with our follicles.
I see. Whatever. But thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. And thank you, Dell.
Nick.
Thanks everyone who is a channel member, and thanks everyone for the support and all that jazz. And if you read Bestman Bulletin every day, give him a coffee. If you watch the show all the time, you're a channel member, Nick. But thank you, Nick. And yeah, and we'll see everybody tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you later, and subscribe, like the video, all that jazz. You know what to do. I don't have to say it. You should just do it. I shouldn't have to ask you. That's what my dad used to say about cleaning my room. I shouldn't have to ask you. So, anyways, I appreciate it. Bye, everybody. And here we go. One last time.
That guy's a cyber character. He's not real.
I should just turn itself off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Turns itself off.